So if you had to come up with maybe your top three things that you've applied, you've learned and applied since starting Agent University, what would be the top three things that were game changers for you? Whether it's in your actual business or your confidence
Hmm.
level, any.
Yeah, so I would say the first one for me is taking the time to properly set up your CRM. That is something basically that comes down to getting organized. Command can do so many things, but it's only going to go as far as you take it, and it in itself is like another class for me. So, but making sure that I sat down, went over all the brain refresher games where you kind of talk about the people, the family members, your circle of influence, your sphere of influence, and you're able to like extract all that information, put it into an Excel spreadsheet, and then upload it into the system. And then everything is kind of tagged and organized. And in the beginning, when you're doing it, it's like, oh, this is grueling. Like this is, like, like this spreadsheet is getting on my nerves. This is the third day I'm working on it. But when it's done, it's done. And then when you understand how you can start the email campaigns, you can do mass texting through Twilio, you can just reach people constantly. It's worth it. So, suffer the pain up front, get it out of the way, eat your peas, and then to me that'll be a lot easier. Yeah.
Let's talk about that. So
Okay.
number one, I'm offended for peas because I love peas. Okay.
I do too.
Yeah, so when agents, even when there are agents that have been working in the business and they're transferring over, and I'll ask them, "Do you have your database together?" And I ask them any like number of questions. Usually they're like, "Yeah, it's like 50 to 100 people." I'm like, "That's not your database. Like we need to, like you said, like scrape the data. We need to figure out who do you know, who
Right.
don't you know. Use the memory jogger to figure out, oh yeah, I know somebody in those 5 states because I could actually proactively reach out to agents or find out who they like to use and develop those reciprocating relationships. So, yeah, so I also am like the type of person that I like to do things. I mean, it's kind of like the one thing I like to do the project of getting my database together first. And even I do this annually. I update it, I look at it, I clean it, I call it, I massage it, and then I look at the patterns in it, and then I can apply my marketing strategy. Once I see, how do I know these people? Oh, I got a lot of business through my CrossFit or through dance. I should do more there. If you do it like piecemeal, which some programs recommend, and there's a benefit to maybe doing 10 a day, I get it because it gets you into action. But for me, I like to get that, so then I can act on it based on seeing those patterns.
Right.
Yeah, it seemed like once you got through the rough part, it was apparent why that was so important to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
Yeah.
it was really important to
Okay.
get a memory jogger to really, like you said, scrape your brain, extract all that, because I mean that's going to be, where you start. And what happens is like what's happening now is that now that I've made it known to people, they have my app. They know I'm selling real estate, and I'm being aggressive now. I'm not passive about it. I'm overtly letting people know, like I'm your guy. In some cases, like, forget about the other guy. Like, I'm your guy. We have that relationship. I want your business. That's what's happening, because I'm getting like referrals and people saying, "Oh, I know somebody that needs to sell that way."
Wow. So you said before too that you started to take control of the buyer process. You didn't just like kind of show up at the property, show it and let the buyer dictate the process. You actually grabbed control of that and are having more success, and you are more proactive about letting people know that you're in the business and telling them, "Hey, I want your business." And it sounds like
Yes.
that's
Yeah, it is. So hopefully things start closing more when we get out of the interest phase with a lot of people. But I feel like that's coming. I think I'm gonna have a lot more closings coming up. But a lot of my clients are investors.
yeah.
So, in the investor world right now, we are having like low inventory. But having an increased knowledge base now, I am taking more control, and I just, more as like a consultant, more as a professional. And a lot of times, people do need guidance. I'm not just here to take orders and listen to you. I'm here to listen to your needs, but I also help you to here to achieve your goal. And doing that, making sure that I do that is is how I do it is imperative to us achieving that goal. So I kind of like to guide, the situation, based on the things that I'm learning and things like that.
Yeah, imagine if I just got my flu shot yesterday. So imagine if I just walked in and nobody said how to get anything done. They didn't
Right.
check, let's say they didn't check me in. They didn't review my information. They didn't invite me back. Honestly, when I first sat down, the woman said, "Oh, you're here because you have a rash on your leg." I'm like, "No, I said my head itches."
All
Like
right.
that's what I said on the phone. So imagine if, you know, like they didn't actually take the time to go through
Right.
their process to make sure that they knew exactly what I needed. And
Right.
they just said, "All right, pull up your pants. Let's look at the rash on your leg." I'd be like,
Right.
"What are you talking about?"
Right.
And that is one of the biggest complaints buyers have about their agents, and sellers probably too, but that their agent didn't listen to them. And Carrie did say this, and I say this all the time. I inherit buyers all the time that said that their last agent showed them properties or kept sending them properties that they didn't want to see. And I say this all the time too. I don't understand that. I don't understand if they say they want something, you show it to them.
Yep.
Or if they can't afford what they want, you have to tactfully let them know that they have to choose alternatives.
The last one, or I don't want to rank them, but I was going to say is that the deep understanding of the PA real estate contract is just so essential, and I cannot overstate it. It's just not a fill out the blanks type of document the way a lot of people treat it and things like that. I see them flying around, in the off market all the time. People with no idea, no training, people getting people to sign them, wholesalers, no shade, but just like everybody with their own type of contracts out here. So that knowledge that you're providing with the contracts and the breakdown and the closing costs, training, I think that is just the most imperative thing, because that's where the deal consummates at that point. And I think that
Yeah,
that's so important.
absolutely. I mean, there's so much money on the line,
Right.
and fiduciary responsibility. We really need to know our contracts. I run into veteran agents all the time that don't know their contracts, and it shouldn't shock me. It
Oh, I'm
shocks
not
me
I'm
every
not
time.
shocked at all, because there was an offer I had on a property about a month ago. Was the deal that fell apart. And the guys, "Oh, I've been in the business for 18 years and this, that, and the other. My wife and I run." And he was adding things in the blank lines after the signatures that actually were in the contract. So after I
Yeah,
sat through your contract, and I saw that these specific items, as far as like things being removed from the property, were actually in the contract. He didn't know that. And I just, like, it was a sign to me that, okay, this is what they've become accustomed to doing. It's just
yeah,
like adding everything at the end of the contract, but not actually knowing that if you know the paragraph in line, like, if you really knew it, you would not have had to, have
right.
done that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, one of my biggest pet peeves is when people add to paragraph 32B, "This is an as-is sale." And
All
I
right.
ask, well, is there an inspection contingency? Yes, or
Right.
it's not as is,
Right. Right.
So we could get more into the details, the nuances of that in a class, so I won't go into that here.